So yeah, let's move over to topic two. We're talking more Disney. It's a whole Disney episode today. Hope you were ready for it and put on your ears. I'm going to switch over to the video game side of things and talk about a little game I've been playing a shit ton of lately in Disney Dreamlight Valley. Now, you're like, Brett, this is totally opposite of the games you normally talk about on this show. Yeah, it is. I needed something, or I was looking for something rather, that I kind of could relax to. Not that, other games I couldn't relax to, but something like I didn't have to pay attention really hard to the narrative or like really focus on a skill base or a skill level thing that I need to play a certain way or strategize. Is that even a word? Strategize. English. With the gameplay or anything like that. And Disney Dreamlight is checking those boxes for me right now. Obviously, with the trip coming up, circling back to topic one, this is building the excitement as well because I am obviously enshrined in this world of Disney and the characters that are in it. And then the gameplay is solid and just scratches those itches of a different type of game that is needed from time to time or is needed for right now. So if you don't know what Disney Dreamlight Valley is, it is available on, I think, all platforms. And it's an early access game. But it is a mixture, maybe not a mixture. It's Animal Crossing with Disney characters. So it is a farming game, a world building game, a conversational game, a task-based game, whatever you want to call it. So as your main character, you are helping rebuild or save the Dreamlight Valley. Something's gone amok there. It's all evil or has been corrupted by evil. And you are there to kind of cleanse it and restore it to its former glory. So you are found, I guess, or run into Merlin here. And he kind of explains the whole situation and explains how you have magic and you can help out the valley. So you get rid of these night thorns or what they're called, and you are trying to once again restore the valley and help it from the forgetting, I think is what they call it. And essentially what it is, it's just caused all this chaos and characters to not remember who they are, what they are, their relationships that they had in the past. So by doing these tasks and helping out Merlin along with other characters on the way, you save more characters, you recruit them to your village or restore their homes or whatever, and you're essentially healing the area that you're in. And the more you do it, the more you meet new characters, you kind of learn about the narrative that they are telling and how this happened and what happened to these different characters and why they're suffering the things that they're suffering. And it's neat. The story is cool. It's not, I would say, groundbreaking story by any means, but it's fun to run into these characters, help them out, and be like, oh, so-and-so's in the game. They're great. And, like, you help them with little menial tasks. Like, hey, I need help fixing this boat. Can you help me get the resources? And you just go and collect resources. I need this much of the wood planks, or I need to craft these different materials, the fiber to make rope and do this and do that. So it's a very task-driven game, resource management. So with that, there's a lot you can do in this game. From the crafting side, which I already talked about, there's farming you can do, there's fishing you can do different gathering or foraging, whatever you want to call it. And you have the freedom of doing whatever you want to do. Obviously, if you want to do the task to progress, the story beats or whatever, do that. Great. And there are plenty of tasks, especially once you get a little bit more of the character roster or characters just back into the valley. It can pile up. It's very organized, but it can pile up, especially once more and more characters become involved. So you could do that. Or if you're really into the customization thing, which I know a lot of people are, you can customize the holy crap out of a lot of things here. Obviously, your main character, customize them. You get a house, you can customize your house and decorate it with all different types of furniture and paintings and artwork and collectibles there. And then you have the valley itself. So it's kind of separated out into, I don't know, 7 or 8 sections that you'll progressively unlock as you go through the story and the narrative, and then, get the resources needed to unlock those areas. But you can customize those fully. So in the first area, for example, you have like a town. So you have your home, you have Mickey's home, you have Scrooge McDuck's like general store, and then you have other buildings that you can eventually place. So Remy's restaurant, different houses for different characters, or like smaller stalls for things for like crops to buy and whatnot. And you can customize this fully. They give you a general layout at the beginning. There are some structures that are like hard locked to the location, but if you want different paths, build different paths, planters, benches, lamps, other decor, like the holiday event that's going on right now. You can put up Christmas trees or presents or whatnot if you unlock those things or craft them. You could go absolutely nuts and, do whatever you want with this town. And it's cool, the freedom of that, and just what they allow you to do in this game is like you can move everything. You can move resources that you can pick up. You can move the citizens' houses to kind of have that freedom to rearrange. And that's the thing too, you can rearrange at any time. There's no hard lock things. I did mention there are a few things, like I think there's a fountain and like a staircase towards the castle that are, set in stone. But if, for example, I had Mickey's house in one area, and eventually you can unlock Minnie by helping him out, I wanted those two to live next door to each other. Had to do a little rearranging, but then I was able to put both of their houses next to each other, and they have a little garden that I decorated or put for them in front of their living area. And it just worked out. And if there's anything like that you need to rearrange at any point, you could. Or, for example, Wally's got his like little space capsule truck thing that he lives in. Oh, it's not working in this area? Okay, swap it over to a new area, a new zone, and he's good to go. So it's a fun element that you can get lost in during your gameplay and kind of have fun customizing that if you want to. So let's talk about characters. So as of right now, I think I've run into a decent chunk of the characters. I think there's only maybe a handful left that I have not encountered. Now, granted, this is early access. So the way you encounter characters is either by unlocking the different regions, as I talked about, by gathering what they call Dreamlight, which you can do just by doing any of those tasks that I talked about: farming, fishing, crafting, talking to characters. You can get it that way, doing tasks for them. Or you can they're called duties, but they're like gather so many apples, gather so many crops, plant crops, cook things, whatever. It's like things you can do in like stages. So like, let's stick with apples just because it's easy. Gather 3 apples. That's 1. Then the next one's like 10, and then it's like 25, and blah, blah, blah. And there's like 5 stages of them. And there's a lot of different ones. But doing those things can get you this Dreamlight, along with helping out your villagers, that you can compile and use to either unlock these new areas where other characters can be that you can kind of help. Or in the castle, there's these doors where if you clear, using the Dreamlight power, clear the Night Thorns away from there, you can go into like a mini version of their world or their film or movie or animated picture or whatever it is. And that's where you can try and recruit them or help them return home to the valley. So the way it's broken up, there's 3 in the first area, I believe a second 3, and then one more set of 3. And then on the sides, I don't know if they'll eventually open it up, but there's like 2 layers of 16. So like 8, 8, 8, 8 on each of the sides. So with the game being early access, the developers, which I should have looked up prior to recording to give them a proper shout out, they're doing very regular updates, but they're constantly adding new characters and these doors, from what it seems, to add to the experience. So in the first ones, there's Wally, there's Remy, and there's Moana. I think those were at launch because they use Wally and Remy in the trailers, and Remy's quite important with the cooking stuff. So they had those three, and then since they've added Frozen, so you have Anna and Elsa, which you can go talk to. I haven't talked to them yet. Or you have the Pixar characters of Toy Story, so you have Woody and Buzz in there as well. Another set that I have not talked to. So you can, there's new stuff to constantly do. Now, as I mentioned, there's more doors that are not available just yet. The developers are kind of adding more and more. So at least in that center row, there's still 6 or something that eventually will be added. For the sides, it's like a roped off thing, so you can't even run over to those doors, but the doors look the same. It's just without the character's insignia or logo on the door. So we'll have to see how far they go. The game does allude to different characters with different things you can unlock. So whether it's I talked about the customization with the furniture and the clothing, they break it down into different sections. This is, your generic clothing. This is clothing that's based on Frozen. This is based on Moana's franchise. Not merchandise, but generic garb that would fit their land or whatever. Or there's memories that you can unlock that you seemingly do random, just by, once again, doing the other tasks of farming, fishing, foraging, whatever it is. And they kind of create puzzles, or the memories are puzzle pieces, and they create a puzzle of just a scene of a movie or whatever it is. But obviously, well, maybe not obviously, there are puzzle pieces or memories that are from the franchises of characters that are in the game. So Moana, for example, she's there. Frozen has one. Wally has some. But there are also these mosaics or puzzles for characters that are not in the game. So Cinderella has a few. Monsters Inc. has a few. So I think it would be safe to say maybe those characters would eventually make an appearance at some point in an update. From my understanding, now granted I've only played this about 20 hours in this last festive holiday update, so I don't know how the previous rolled out worked with their Halloween stuff. I would assume they add new characters with each update. It seemed like they added, if they didn't add Anna and Elsa in this one, they were at least advertised on it. They did add Stitch, which is not in a door per se. He just kind of crash lands in the valley on his little rocket cruiser thing. So it seems like each update or battle pass or whatever the hell you want to call it, they do add new characters. Now, this content is free. I mentioned a battle pass, which I'll kind of get to in a minute, but these updates, with it being early access, are free and just available to you, which I do appreciate. Obviously, with it being early access, you have to deal with the bugs and all that jazz, which is fair. But once again, this team, which I guess I should look up, stays, really on top of everything and takes user feedback and is constantly putting out, patches and whatnot for things that might not be working, or just to help it and get better. So the developer and the publisher is Gameloft. But yeah, they do a fantastic job making things fresh, keeping it updated, keeping it going. And that's great. So the battle pass I alluded to. So I wasn't playing in this time, but there was one for Halloween, and now there's a festive one as a recording for obviously the winter holidays. I believe there's still 20 days or so still left of it, so it's going to obviously go a little bit past the holidays. But in this, you can pretty much just unlock more cosmetic stuff. You can use money real world money, or these moonstones that you just get in game. As obviously time progresses, you get enough to get like a premium pass, which you can unlock more, or you get more tasks to unlock it faster. So earlier I talked about duties, which are like the check marks or the tasks, like do this and you get the resource, do this, you get the resource. So with the festive one, it's like you get on the free pass, you get 3, and then if you do premium, you double it, you get 6. So if you do those tasks, you get these little present icons, and then similar to most other battle passes, you use that to like pick and choose what you want to unlock. So you can unlock, once again, like a Christmas tree. You get that, or a stack of presents, or this lamp with a wreath that hangs down. So they're cosmetics that you get that you can then, once you have that first one, you can craft as many as you want, as long as you have the resources. Or at the end of the battle pass for this one, there's like different attires. So Mickey can have like a festive suit and top hat that he wears, or Merlin can have like a more Santa theme or colored inspired cloak that he wears. So it's more fun stuff that, like, if you want to chase after and do, you can. Obviously you don't have to. The moonstones, that currency, you do get in game. So if you don't want to, invest more money into the game, you don't have to. Just will take a little bit of time to acquire that. But it's another aspect, an avenue of things you can do or get from this game. But aside from that, once again, the other stuff is free. The characters they do add, so your Pixar characters, it's just in-game stuff that you need to work towards, but it's not of any monetary value. It's just stuff you're doing in-game regularly to progress anyway, like an experience system. That those will be added, and then Stitch is just there, and you'll encounter his stuff eventually. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Gameloft does from here, and appreciate their constant effort put into it and the changes that are, happening, or at least, things that are being added, because it keeps it fresh. It keeps it interesting. There's a bunch of games where you play through it and then it's like, okay, that was great. And like some games, even they add DLC and it's like, well, that's nice. That came out 6 months after the game. I've moved on, which isn't a bad thing, because it's still awesome to see that the game is being worked on. It's just maybe you have moved on at that point. So these small updates that they are putting out with the early access, clearly it's not a full game, allegedly. It's still a work in progress. It's just nice to have the more frequent updates here. Now, in terms of early access, full game, from my experience, I think it's a full game. I know they technically list themselves as early access, and I think that's just to kind of signify that, like, once again, the updates are coming, and it's kind of like a games of service title where just more and more and more and more and more is being added as time goes on and through its life cycle. But from a gameplay perspective, I have not reached a point in the first 20 hours that I've played where I'm either locked out or bored or I don't have something to do. Similar to Animal Crossing. Yeah. Animal Crossing? Yeah, Jesus. Animal Crossing from Nintendo during the early pandemic days. While the early stages of Animal Crossing, you could get locked out in like that first 3 to 5 days just because you had to, like, you got to a point and the next day shops would arrive or whatever. This one hasn't felt that way, where I feel like I've hit a wall and I can't progress, I can't do anything. It's just rewarding. It's just, you want to play this game? Here you go. You can progress as much as you want with the characters and do their quest lines. You can customize or do all the menial tasks that you want to and just have a ball. It's been a great time. I know these games are not for everybody. The task-driven, not super narrative, while this does have a narrative, like, I don't know how to explain these. directly this type of game, but I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. I've really been enjoying it just because it is something that I feel like I can turn my brain off during that time and just relax and kind of cut loose. I highly recommend it for anybody who likes Animal Crossing or likes a Stardew Valley, things of that nature, or if you're a big Disney fan. Huge plus there, obviously. With me, I enjoy these characters. There's some that are a little bit more newer that I'm like, man, I really want to rewatch that movie, or I want to dive more into that character. Once again, the trip upcoming probably helps. But it's been fun diving into this world, kind of, letting the inner child kind of take over and just have some fun, just, not care about outside things while playing it, which is kind of the point. It's an escape. It's been a good time. Highly recommend it for anybody. A lot of things to do, a lot of content to be had. Some things can be a little bit of a learning curve starting out, but it's very easy to pick up once you kind of reach that point of like, oh, that's how that's attained. Oh, that's how that's done. Very, very easy to pick up, but a lot of things that go into it that kind of add to the experience, I would say. So yeah, there's my Disney talk for y'all guys. Y'all guys, yeehaw. I don't know. This has been another episode of the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma911, usually every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You join the chat and the conversation. If you follow over there, we'd love to have you in on the fun. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Drops over on YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you guys can support, whether it's the merch store, leaving a review, or sharing this podcast with somebody you think would enjoy it, means a lot. It does, even if it seems small, it does help out the channel, helps out the show quite a bit. So anything you can do to help and support would be greatly appreciated. I hope you guys had an awesome holiday, whatever you guys do celebrate, if you do celebrate. And with the new year coming up, don't party too hard. Be safe. Hope you guys had a good 2022. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for some of it, giving this a watch, giving it a listen, and we will see you guys on the next one. Take care.